This is Tyler Choice. I am a mystic and a hacker with a background in reverse engineering, and in this video I will be reading selections of Fyodor Dostoevsky on the theme of tears of joy that he includes in his writings. And I will first break down a summary of that timeline of how this plays out. I'm not going to read them in that order, but the first time we hear of tears, I believe, is in chapter 3 of this book, and we see this figure, which I don't think you really know if you trust him at first, because he's pretty much the image of a master, so you probably wonder if he's the real deal or if he's kind of a con man fooling everyone. And you very quickly learn that this man is very wise, very, very wise, very intuitive, very intelligent, very quick to deal with different people's situations, just very gifted. So the first time we hear that, he is consoling a woman. And then a little later on, we hear the teacher telling the monks, in the first piece I'll read, he's telling the monks pretty much his message of how they should treat people, how they should live, but the message is it seems a little bit absurd. It almost sounds like he himself doesn't even know what he's talking about. And then we go and we hear from different characters mentioning the same thing of tears. So we hear Ivan mentioning it, and Ivan is more of an intellectual that's probably too smart for his own good. And I haven't finished the novel, but as I understand it, he starts... Oh, that's a bit of a spoiler, but he does not go a good way with his overthinking and his inability to reconcile all of his conflictions about God and reality. Then you have Alyosha, who is the character that wants to follow Christ, wants to follow God, the young character full of zeal and a beautiful character. And then you have the teacher, who I would think would optimally be, I believe it is who Dostoevsky believes he would have become if he had been exposed to this kind of insight as a young child while he was growing up in hospitals and around a lot of death. Dostoevsky had a pretty fucked up life. So, what this leads to is, once Dostoevsky dies, Alyosha goes and writes his biography, his fictional book, that reveals what his source material was for his message. And you find out that he is not the original. Like, this is not his message. It's his brother's message. His brother who was dying in a hospital situation. And so the theme of tears in this way is in a large way the tears of a dying man, or someone who no longer has time left on this earth. So there's a grave, there's a ghoulish, ghastly, I can't remember what that word is, aspect to his theme. And his theme is even a little bit more... His theme has many different shades, and it probably, you imagine a person wrote this over years. He probably was in different states when he wrote, so hitting it from different angles, he also brought in where he was at the time. So I actually didn't include one part, which was Ivan's complaints against God have a lot to do with Tears, and if you're interested in that, that is right before the story of the Grand Inquisitor. Then the next part I've included is when he brings up uh, Zozima's final words before death, where he draws in the story of Joseph of Egypt in the Bible and paints that was quoted in the last video. And then the last is his final statements. And then I took Alyosha's final message, which would, if there was any message of hope in Dostoevsky's belief system, then it would be in Alyosha, which is like the young spirit, the young hopeful spirit. But people argue that he does not side with Alyosha. The author does not side with Alyosha. He does side with Ivan, and that will come up here.